Hey everyone, this is BK. Well, thank you for hanging on to this last session of the day. I promise not to bore you with a bunch of slides. There's going to be some cool stuff I'll show you. That's a demo on AI Agent, Agent Builder, which is the most recent feature that was announced at Google Next by Sundar. So let's dive right in. So again, my name is BK. If you care, it stands for Bharat Kishore, based out of Houston. Been with Google for 4+ years, over 25 years of ID experience. So, I like to joke saying that, your model uh, maybe get you to the moon, right? Or land a spacecraft autonomously on the moon. But what good is it if it doesn't help your customer with the most basic questions or even worse, hallucinates, right? So, again, the goal for Google, and again, this session too, is always help the companies build their most trusted and secure GenAI applications and achieve their most important goals. And if I were to ask in this room, how many of you have started playing around with Gen AI, I'd probably get 100% of the people willing saying yes. But if I ask a question saying, well, how many of you actually deployed those applications, Gen AI applications, to production and are happy with the results? Probably not all of them, right? Maybe 50%, right? What's the reason? Because this last mile or the last 20% is where really the enterprises need to make sure that the applications which they're going to deploy that will face either their employees or customers are compliant with the massively, rapidly evolving compliant regulations. It's responsible, gives them the right results without no hallucination. And if it's customer care, can it be personalized and can it understand where the customer is in the journey and provide the responses accordingly? Now, if you were a developer, there's a constant challenge of continuous evaluation and inspection of quality of the responses. So all these, because of all these challenges, it's not that easy to, especially if you're a financial services, I work with a lot of FSI companies. Yeah, it's just last 20% is where it takes, 80% of the time. And Vertex, if you're not familiar with Vertex, it's a Google's flagship AML platform. Again, the goal here is not just to bring you the latest and greatest models, uh, it's the platform that powers it, right? Which provides you with the ability to customize the models or gives you the ability to deploy the agent securely and keeping your data secure. So, I know at Google I/O, Sundar made some announcements on Google's first-party models, right? So the Gemini 1.5 Pro, which has 1 million tokens context, now can actually even process 2 million tokens. You're going to be waitlisted, but that's going to be possible pretty soon. What that means is you can actually upload a 2-hour video or 22 hours of audio and process that and ask whatever questions you want to get intelligence out of that, right? So that's first party models, but the focus has been to give customers the choice so that they're able to pick the model that they like based on their requirement. Again, going back to what I said in the very first slide, that's why it has opened up the platform to a lot more models which are in the market. Gemma is Google's own open source model. So the latest models of Gemma are available in Model Garden. There's the Llama from Meta, which is pretty popular, Hugging Face, Claude 3. 130 plus models are available for customers to work on the Google's Vertex platform. So it also gives you the ability to fine tune those models based on your branding, your data, right? So there's the foundation models, but there's all sorts of tools available on the platform with that you can use to customize your prompt or customize the responses that come outside based on, again, your branding and whatever is it you want to ground it in your private data or you want to ground it in the latest factual data, that's also possible too. So a couple features, and this two out of many other features which are available for Gen AI enterprise implementation. But there is this feature called prompt management, which allows you to get the prompt that works for you, right? To do that, you probably have to do multiple iterations, run the prompt, across, compare the results across the multiple versions of the prompts, with one model or different models. So management allows you to do that, and Genai evaluation that allows you to compare the responses of a data set across different models and helps you get your evaluation metrics. So let's dive into Vertex Agent Builder. Um, when I say agent, I like to think agent is something that's intelligent, which has a purpose. It has a goal of helping someone, but there are also confines of what it can do, right? So that's what this agent builder is geared towards. When I show you the demo in a couple minutes here, um, it's what you'll see is that for every agent, you need to give a goal, a broad goal, open goal as to what it's supposed to do, and also give it a set of instructions in natural language, telling it, here's what you need to do when the customer asks these kind of questions, and if you do not know the answer, what else you could do, right? So there are different agents which are listed here, and of course, a lot more. All of them have specific purpose. So if when a customer goes about building an agent, what are some questions he needs to answer, right? First is if a customer does not have the right skill set, let's say for machine learning, how can I deploy those production ready agents easily, right? How can I use maybe out of the box search, or if I'm able to, can I customize that with my own RAG implementation and ground it based on my data? Right? Do I have the tools to control the responses or customize the models? How do I prevent hallucination? These are all the kinds of questions pretty much any customer asks when he builds an agent. And the way we like to, you know, present agent builders capabilities here under three different buckets, right? There's orchestrate, ground and augment, and use tools. So under orchestrate, you're able to create agents with no code, low code, or even a high level of code implementation using LangChain and build those intelligent agents. Now you're able to ground and augment with Google search. Think about it. So Google search is obviously constantly updated with the latest and greatest data. You can ground your results not just based on when the model was last trained, but in real time, you are able to verify against Google search results and prevent that hallucination. Of course, you're able to ground the data against your private data as well. So there are two kinds of implementations I was alluding to. You can use the out of the box search functionality, or you can implement your own RAG approach using LangChain and Llama Index on Vertex. Now, there are some cool tools, again, to enrich the context and the responses of your LLM by integrating with external data sources, right? Tools such as extensions and calling. You can invoke an external APIs or SaaS application and so on. There are some connectors which are available today that your LLM can call in real time. So again, this is just a visual of the UI, and I'll show you the real UI, but it's pretty straightforward. You would be able to create, agents, simple to sophisticated, using natural language. There are tools in there to again even test and publish, do the whole, LLM ops within Agent Builder. Again, just to double click on Google search, you're able to anchor your responses, again, based on the Google search results, but it also can give you the actual citations attributions with those links to the LLM, out of the box implementation, right? You'll get those and you can use that again to validate if it's hallucinating or not. There's also the feature of suggested search, which can give you, what additional search that the user can do based on the previous search. So that also can be surfaced to LLM. So some information on the external connectors. This is not, a comprehensive. Let's just give you an idea. There are first, you can connect to the first party data sources of Google, like the cloud storage, BigQuery, public websites, but also, third party tools such as ServiceNow, Jira, Slack, Salesforce, and so on. There is a whole roadmap, and I can tell you that over the next 2 to 3 months, there are a lot more data sources which will be readily available for you to connect. All right, with that said, let's just jump into the demo. Let me see if I can share a different screen. Can you see the screen of Google Cloud Console?
Yes, it's got invoice agent, basic.
Okay, awesome. So if you are completely new to Google Cloud, essentially you can create an account and get, I think, it's probably $300 worth of credits right away for you to start exploring, right? You can start at console.cloud.google.com. And the way you would come up to this point is you'd search for Agent Builder. I'm not sure if you can see the other tab which I switched to, but um, you know, once you are here, search for Agent Builder, click on it, and you would get to this screen. Let me actually go there. So this is the home screen. You search for the Agent Builder at the top. It brings you to this. There's a bunch of agents which I implemented. So let's just go to the agent which I wanted to demo today. It's more than one agent, but let's start with invoice agent. So taking a step back, right? This is the screen when you start creating an agent. You need to give a name to it, a goal. As I said, the agent here, the goal for this one is process invoices from the user. Simple as that. It's also saying make sure you do call only one tool at a time. What do I mean by a tool? So if you scroll down, you'll see a bunch of available tools here, right? And these are essentially external APIs which I have integrated to this agent. For instance, if I look at Vertex AI Search, OpenAI, what I'll see is it's essentially a request, REST API request that integrates to Invoices API. Now, there's another API called Vertex AI Gemini Pro that's integrating to the foundation model of Gemini Pro. And there's another API for contracts. So data store allows you to integrate with these different data sources either by function calling through an API. It could be websites or just some unstructured data that you want to ground on, right? So, and then there is the set of instructions which I'm giving to this agent, saying that if you take the first one as an example, if the user asks you to find an invoice for a company, get the latest invoice from tool Vertex AI Search, which is the one that I configured at the bottom. And if you find an invoice, tell the user the format of the file, respond in the form. Here's the invoice. Do you have any questions? So there are a few more instructions which are there here. But before I walk through all of those, let's actually start with the prompt. So on the right side, you have this area where you can select the agent, the model. So I selected invoice agent. I picked 1.0 Pro for the purposes of today's demo. That should be good enough. And so let me get the first prompt. Here I said, hey, do I have any open invoice? I'm asking the agent. So what's happening behind the scenes is it's calling that invoice API, and it actually found an open invoice, right? So it says, yes, I found an invoice. Do you have any questions? And it shows you where it got this data from, Vertex AI Search. So, well, I got the invoice, but it's a big invoice. I just would like to get a summary of what's in there. So let's say, let's put the next prompt. Can you please summarize this for me? It knows the context. We're talking about invoices, so I don't have to say summarize the invoice. So it's now taking the invoice, which is unstructured data, calling the Gemini Pro, and generating this summarized information for you with a cool picture of the McLaren, the information on it, financial, the price, taxes, the balance due, and the contact information. Cool, right? Think about doing this at scale with, the AP department probably deals with hundreds of invoices every day. And let me show you what's even more cooler. What if I want to validate if this invoice is right? I mean, I had a contract which is sitting somewhere else. I don't want to go about finding the contract and then opening it, trying to compare what's in the invoice, what's in the contract, right? So what I'm going to say to it, the next prompt is, can you cross-check the invoice with the contract? What it's going to do behind the scenes is it's going to get the contract ID or information from the invoice, and it will go to the contracts database, bring that invoice contract, compare the contract with the invoice, and then tell you if it's good to go or if it sees any discrepancies. So I just entered the prompt. Okay, so here's the response. It says attention required, invoice and contract discrepancy. And it also summarizes what's the discrepancy for me. It says the issue is delivery fee omission, invoice balance is 312,000, contract stated due is only 310. So there's a 2,000 difference. It also says the contract has omitted 2,000 delivery fee. So that's how powerful it is. You can run it through, automate it through all the invoices and run it against the contracts and get the information for you. Now, for whatever reason, I decide to pay this invoice and I just say, hey, go ahead and send it to approvals. Now, I also instructed it saying if someone says send it to approval, send it to the SAP backend system and send an email to the person who's going to process the invoice. And that's what it did. Sent to SAP payment, and it says I have sent the invoice to Warren for approval. So that's how powerful it is processing unstructured data. Now let me show you one other quick demo on a marketing agent. Needless to say, marketing agent. This agent is supposed to know information about the marketing. I'm also telling him to furnish information about the revenues, sales, and all of that. So the goal, as I said here, it says friendly assistant specializing in marketing support. Your role is to assist with inquiries related to marketing and a bunch of instructions. One thing I like to highlight here is it has integrated with data analysis tool, which is a function calling behind the scenes to a database. So it actually is going to take natural language, convert that to SQL, run the SQL against a database, get the data it needs, furnishes data in a human understandable fashion, right? So let's see that in action. So on the right side, I'm going to change the agent from now it's marketing agent 1.0 Pro. Let's start off with a simple question. What is the value proposition of our running shoe Zara? That's running shoe of the company. And it goes against the database and summarize information about the running shoe Zara in a neat fashion. You can, of course, ask follow-up question on that one. I'm going to ask a different question though. Ask what is the revenue for the top 3 states? So again, it knows that this is a revenue question, and it's not going to call the same API to get the marketing information. Instead, it's going to call the data analysis tool. Remember, none of that was programmed. So it tells me that the top 3 states by revenue are California, Florida, and Texas. It also gives me a cool chart. And before I end, just one more idea which I want to float is a staging agent. which is, I would say, kind of unique to Google Stack. Here, essentially, think about steering agent as your front office, right? If you, let's say, implemented 100 agent, you probably don't want to know what the names of all the agents, what each of them does, right? Instead, what if you have a steering agent or front office that essentially understands your question and steers you to the right agent in the backend, right? So that's what this does. I'm telling you your goal, telling the agent that your goal is to direct queries to specialized agents based on the query, and you integrate with the corresponding agent. So on the right side, I'm going to now with steering agent. I'm going to actually ask the same marketing question which I asked before. What is the revenue for the top three states? But remember, I'm not selecting a marketing agent here. It's a steering agent. Uh, so when I do that behind the scenes, it has knowledge about all the agents. It knows that this is a revenue question. And for that, it needs to call the marketing agent and the corresponding API. There you go. So even though I selected steering agent, it actually invoked the marketing agent behind the scenes, which shows at the top and gives you all the data. That's the end of my demo, but let me show you one last slide here and give it back to Ron. So I wanted to end with this note that at Google Next, there was a cool hackathon that was announced by Google, and it's worldwide hackathon. Hundreds of people are participating, and there's still time. It ends on June 3rd, 20 more days. I would highly recommend, if you have time, you want to play with these agents, you want to get creative, go ahead and join this session. And what you can get to interact with Googlers, number one, and you get to even earn some cool cash or cloud credits just by participating. Of course, for the winners, they get to feature in the blogs and social posts. So that's the QR code, and it will be included in the deck that Ron will have. So that's it. Thank you. Over to you, Ron.